Imagine a world speaking one tongue, a singular human voice resonating across the globe. Then, a monumental project, the Tower of Babel, leads to an instant, chaotic fragmentation of languages. Was this a literal, divine intervention, or can modern linguistics unravel this ancient legend? We'll explore how science and faith confront the perplexing origin of our diverse languages, maintaining the profound mystery of God's power. From a theological perspective, the very essence of human communication, particularly the concept of a single, unified language in early humanity, is rooted in the divine act of creation. When God created humankind in His image, He bestowed upon us the unique capacity for complex thought, abstract reasoning, and articulated speech, faculties that set us apart within the natural world. This innate ability to form and utilize language to communicate intricate ideas, emotions, and intentions is a fundamental aspect of the divine blueprint for human existence. The Genesis account explicitly states that the whole world had one language and a common speech. This idea of a proto-language, a singular ancestral tongue from which all others diverged, aligns, in a very broad sense, with some linguistic theories that posit a common origin for language, even if the mechanisms of divergence differ drastically. The establishment of natural laws by God at creation encompasses not only the physical universe, but also the intricate biological and cognitive capacities that underpin human interaction. Our vocal cords, our brain's language processing centers, and our innate drive to communicate are all products of these divinely ordained laws. Language itself, in its earliest form, could be seen as a perfect, efficient system, reflecting the optimal design for human cohesion and cooperation, a gift for unity. The narrative of a single language before Babel underscores this initial divine intention for harmony and collective human endeavor. Thus, the very existence of language, its capacity for intricate structure and meaning, can be viewed as an extension of God's creative power. The subsequent divergence at Babel, therefore, represents a profound disruption of this initial linguistic unity, challenging our understanding of both natural linguistic evolution and divine intervention in the very fabric of human communication and social structure directly tied to the central theme of language origins. The biblical account of the Tower of Babel stands as one of the most pivotal narratives in understanding the origin of linguistic diversity from a theological standpoint. It describes a unified humanity boasting a singular language, embarking on an audacious project to build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. Driven by a desire to make a name for ourselves and prevent scattering across the face of the earth. In response, God observes their collective ambition, recognizing the immense power of human unity when channeled through a shared language. His intervention is direct and dramatic. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. The immediate consequence is a sudden, inexplicable linguistic fragmentation that forces the cessation of the project and the scattering of humanity across the globe. This narrative presents an instantaneous, divinely orchestrated division of languages, a supernatural event that explicitly explains the bewildering array of tongues we observe today. However, alongside this theological explanation, the seeds of linguistic science begin to sprout. Even in the biblical text, the result of the confusion, people no longer understanding each other, highlights the practical reality of language barriers. While the Bible attributes this to a direct miracle, the observation of diverse languages, their incomprehensibility to one another, and their role in separating human groups are precisely the phenomena that modern linguistics seeks to explain through natural processes. For centuries, scholars observed commonalities between languages, hinting at shared ancestry, much like how related families might still share discernible traits. This began the slow empirical study of how languages evolve, how words change over time, and how different dialects emerge from a common source. While these scientific inquiries would later propose gradual, organic processes for linguistic divergence, the Babel narrative posits a sudden, catastrophic shift. The tension between this instantaneous, divine act and the slow, observable evolution of language forms the core of our exploration. Even as science unveils the intricacies of linguistic development, the bold direct action of God in the Babel story maintains its central position as the ultimate explanation within a faith framework, underscoring that his action is the primary cause, regardless of any scientific parallels or mechanisms that might be proposed for language change. To truly comprehend the profound implications of the Tower of Babel narrative, we must delve into the natural laws of language diversification as understood by modern linguistics. Unlike the instantaneous, supernatural division described in Genesis, linguistic science proposes a gradual, organic process by which languages evolve, form distinct dialects, and eventually branch into entirely separate languages. This process operates according to discernible patterns and mechanisms, which can be seen from a theological perspective as the laws embedded by God within the very fabric of human communication and social dynamics. The primary drivers of linguistic diversification are geographic isolation and social separation. When groups of people speaking the same language migrate and settle in different regions, or when social barriers emerge, their language begins to change independently. Over generations, subtle differences in pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar accumulate. For instance, the original Latin spoken by Romans gradually diverged into distinct Romance languages like Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese, each developing unique characteristics over centuries of separation. This demonstrates a natural, observable process of dialectalization leading to distinct languages. Furthermore, factors like language contact, population growth, and cultural innovation also contribute to linguistic change and divergence. These intricate processes, meticulously studied by historical linguists, operate with remarkable consistency, creating predictable patterns of relatedness that allow linguists to reconstruct proto-languages and establish language families like the Indo-European family, the Afro-Asiatic family, etc. This scientific understanding of how languages naturally diversify offers a powerful, elegant explanation for the vast linguistic landscape of our world. From a faith perspective, these very laws, the mechanisms of sound change, semantic shift, and grammatical restructuring, can be viewed as reflections of God's ingenious design, embedded within human cognition and social interaction. They demonstrate how order emerges from complex, self-organizing systems. However, while science can meticulously detail how languages naturally change and diverge over vast periods, it cannot account for an event like Babel, which posits an immediate, catastrophic, and seemingly unmediated linguistic fragmentation across an entire population. This fundamental difference, the instantaneous, miraculous rupture versus the slow, evolutionary divergence, is precisely where the biblical account of Babel directly challenges and transcends purely naturalistic explanations, thereby underscoring the extraordinary power of divine intervention in establishing the very diversity of human communication. Let us intensely scrutinize the specific linguistic event at the Tower of Babel and analyze why its portrayal as an instantaneous and widespread diversification of languages presents a unique anomaly that profoundly challenges typical linguistic evolution. The biblical narrative is precise. The Lord confused the language of the whole world and scattered them from there over the face of the whole earth. This implies not merely the emergence of a few dialects, but a simultaneous radical and global linguistic rupture from a single unified language into multiple mutually unintelligible tongues, occurring within a single generation or a very short span of time. From a scientific linguistic perspective, language change and divergence are typically gradual, cumulative processes occurring over centuries or millennia. While rapid shifts can happen in specific, isolated communities, a sudden, global, and coordinated fragmentation of a single language into numerous distinct, unrelated language families on such a scale is unprecedented in linguistic history and observation. Linguists study phenomena like sound shifts, semantic drift, and grammatical restructuring. These are slow, organic changes driven by factors like phonetic drift, analogy, borrowing, and social innovation, typically leaving behind discernible traces of their common ancestry that allow historical linguists to reconstruct proto-languages. The Babel account, however, implies a leap in linguistic evolution that bypasses these gradual mechanisms. It's not just that people started speaking differently. They could not understand each other. This suggests a fundamental and immediate alteration of linguistic competence itself, or a direct injection of new, distinct linguistic systems, rather than a natural divergence. If the event at Babel introduced distinct language families, in an instant it would present an extraordinary challenge to the scientific models of monogenesis and polygenesis. While science meticulously maps gradual linguistic relationships and proposes family trees spanning thousands of years, the unique specificity of the Babel event, its instantaneous, global, and profound nature stands as a stark anomaly. It suggests a divine intervention that directly overrides or dramatically accelerates the normal processes of linguistic change. While linguists strive to understand the mechanisms of language, the Babel narrative posits a supernatural cause for linguistic diversity that transcends the observable patterns of natural evolution. This specific facet of the Babel story thus affirms that, within a faith framework, God retains ultimate authorship over language, capable of orchestrating its very structure, and, when His purposes require it, directly altering its course in ways that remain beyond our current scientific capacity to explain or replicate. The relationship between modern linguistics and the ancient narrative of the Tower of Babel offers a fascinating case study in how scientific and religious perspectives can both illuminate and challenge each other, leading to a deeper appreciation of the complexities of human language. Modern linguistics, especially historical and comparative linguistics, provides a powerful scientific framework for understanding the incredible diversity of languages we observe today. Through meticulous analysis of sound changes, grammatical structures, and vocabulary, linguists have successfully grouped languages into vast families, tracing their evolutionary paths and reconstructing proto-languages that existed thousands of years ago. These scientific models, built on empirical evidence and consistent methodologies, suggest that language divergence is a slow, continuous process driven by factors like migration, geographic isolation, and social dynamics, unfolding over immense spans of time, tens of thousands of years. The Tower of Babel narrative, by contrast, presents a singular, instantaneous, and divinely orchestrated event as the origin of linguistic diversity. This seemingly direct conflict between a gradual scientific process and a sudden, supernatural act is precisely where the interpretive challenge lies. However, rather than seeing them as mutually exclusive, some perspectives suggest a different kind of harmony. Modern linguistics can explain how languages change, mutate, and diversify over time, providing the intricate mechanisms of linguistic evolution. From a theological viewpoint, these very mechanisms, the capacity for phonetic drift, semantic shift, and grammatical innovation, could be seen as inherent capacities divinely built into human language from the beginning. God created language with the potential for diversity. The Babel event, then, could be understood as a catalyst for that potential, a dramatic acceleration or a direct, purposeful intervention that initiated a rapid, widespread diversification that then continued to evolve naturally. It's not that linguistics is wrong. It simply describes the ongoing processes of language change after the initial event. The miracle of Babel then becomes the initial impetus for global linguistic diversity, a direct act of divine will that set humanity on a new trajectory of scattered communication. This perspective allows for a nuanced appreciation. Science explains the how of ongoing linguistic change, while the Babel narrative offers a why, a profound, foundational reason for the original, large-scale linguistic separation that defies simple naturalistic explanation. The harmony between faith and science in this context lies in recognizing their distinct but complementary domains. Science explores the observable universe and its laws, while faith acknowledges a creator who established those laws and who can, when his purposes require it, act directly within or beyond them. The Tower of Babel, therefore, stands as a testament to both the inherent linguistic capabilities of humanity and the profound, transformative power of divine intervention, shaping the very course of human history and communication, moving from a single tongue to a world of languages, the origin of which remains a deep mystery. As we conclude our profound exploration of the Tower of Babel, weaving together the meticulous observations of modern linguistics with the timeless narrative of ancient faith, it becomes strikingly clear that while scientific inquiry offers invaluable insights into the intricate patterns and evolution of human language, there remains an unfathomable realm, a core mystery that inherently transcends the boundaries of our empirical understanding. Linguistics can meticulously map language families, reconstruct ancient proto-languages, and precisely identify the mechanisms of phonetic, lexical, and grammatical change over millennia. However, it cannot, by its very nature and current methodologies, fully explain a singular, instantaneous, and global fragmentation of a unified language into mutually unintelligible tongues as described in the biblical account. Our scientific models, however sophisticated and rigorously validated through comparative analysis and historical reconstruction, are ultimately constrained by the observable, the measurable, and the repeatable phenomena that exist strictly within the established framework of the natural world. The narrative of the Tower of Babel, therefore, powerfully compels us, as both scientific inquirers and spiritual beings, to acknowledge the inherent limits of human comprehension and the boundaries of purely materialist explanations for all phenomena. It vividly and concretely suggests that some events, some profound realities, operate on a level that utterly defies our current scientific paradigms and materialistic frameworks, pointing decisively towards a divine agency that is not and never has been strictly bound by the very natural laws it itself meticulously established and consistently upholds. This is not, crucially, to imply that science is irrelevant or without immense value. Quite the opposite. Rather, it frames science as an extraordinarily powerful and, from a theological perspective, a divinely given tool for understanding God's intricate creation, a profound and privileged way to unravel the astonishing complexity, inherent order, and hidden mechanisms He wove into the very fabric of human cognition, communication, and the universe at large. However, God, as the omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent Creator, stands eternally and infinitely beyond and majestically above His creation. He can certainly work through natural processes, allowing for gradual linguistic change, cultural diffusion, and the steady accumulation of human knowledge. But He can also, when His divine purposes deem it necessary and appropriate, intervene directly to bring about outcomes that transcend the ordinary course of nature, directly defying predictable sociological and linguistic laws. The story of Babel thus serves as a powerful, timeless, and enduring reminder that while humanity may continuously inch closer to understanding the intricate mechanisms of language acquisition, evolution, and diversification, the ultimate mystery of divine power, the unparalleled ability to instantaneously alter the fundamental means of human communication, and thereby shaped the course of history, will always remain a profound, awe-inspiring truth that transcends the finite boundaries of our scientific instruments, our empirical measurements, and our limited human minds. It leaves us with an overwhelming sense of wonder, humility, and profound contemplation, compelling us to consider and stand in awe of the Creator, whose works are truly unfathomable and whose ways are higher than our own, a being capable of orchestrating events that redefine the very concept of human unity and global diversity. So, was the Tower of Babel a linguistic legend or a direct divine intervention? Modern linguistics beautifully charts the slow evolution of dialects, yet struggles with a singular global linguistic rupture. This ancient narrative, set against our scientific understanding of language, leaves us with a profound question. How far can human comprehension reach before we encounter a power so vast, so transformative, that it utterly transcends our explanations, hinting at a divine author of all language and all diversity?